Sarah, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on the Elevating Resilience podcast. Amy recommended you to me. We had an awesome talk this week. You're stepping right up and being a partner for All In, and I'm excited to have you hear your story, hear what your gym is all about, and what resilience means to you. All right, so let's get started. I want to hear about your story. I want to hear what you do, everything. Tell me.
So I guess we'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Ocean Gate, in Toms River, over by the Jersey Shore. And so growing up, my parents always kind of promoted us to do sailing program. That was just big in our area. It's what my mom did. It's what my dad grew up, around. So they kind of promoted my sister and my brother and I to get into sailing. Out of the three of us, I was really the only one who really took a serious liking to it. And it really just set the tone, I think, for my entire life, as far as athletics go, as far as fitness goes. It's just something I've fell in love with at a young age. It opened a lot of doors for me, a lot of opportunity. I got to go all over the world, up until I was 15. I got to go to Spain, Portugal, Paris.
Wow.
All over the United States. It really just got me into the sailing community, and it really just, again, opened a ton of doors. I sailed all through high school. I played a couple different high school sports. I ran. And then, college came around and sailing was something that I wanted. So jumped right into, the whole recruiting scene and where do I want to go. So I ended up going to Roger Williams in Rhode Island. So sailing is a little different. There's not Division I, Division II, Division III. It's just broken up by like geographic locations. So New England, Mid-Atlantic, and so on. So basically how the sailing scene works is there's two people on a boat. There's a skipper and there's a crew.
Okay.
Most females are actually crews.
Okay.
Not a lot of females skipper. So that was something that I offered the school that a lot of people didn't, which was really cool. So kind of set the tone for the women's team at Roger Williams, I think. Wow. I'd like to say that I kind of
awesome.
did.
What is the difference between the responsibilities of like the skipper and the crew?
So the crew, there's two sails. So the crew handles the smaller front sail.
Okay.
And they're basically in charge of kind of monitoring other boats around you, kind of getting you set up. The skipper is the one who drives the boat. They're in charge of navigating you throughout the course.
Yeah.
And so that was a really cool, opportunity to kind of bring that into the school. I did it all 4 years. I was really excited my senior year. We had tried to build up the team as much as we could. But then I was, the All New England Sportswoman of the Year, which was really cool, which was, I would have loved to do more, but I think taking that away, just, leaving that was really cool. So I'm, have that to go on. And then after college, I think that's kind of when it set in, is like, I've been doing this my whole life. Like, what am I going to do now? Yeah. I was sailing in the summers, but it was a very different, kind of headspace for me. What am I going to do next? Yeah. And that's where, my senior year of college, I started working with my athletic director and like, what am I going to do? Like, I enjoy being active. I enjoy fitness. And she kind of steered me in a couple different directions, gave me some ideas of what to do. I went for, my nutrition certification. She got me into Johnny G spinning.
Okay.
Which is like old school now. Yeah. But it was, it was a good way for me to learn and understand what I wanted to do. And, from there, I just kind of started doing all different things. In 2012, I found CrossFit, which I fell in love with. That competitive, like, I'm like, this is like so me. Let me do it. And, I worked at a CrossFit gym for, 8 or 9 years, which was phenomenal. I learned so much. I learned a lot about myself and how hard I can push myself. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
COVID happened, kids happened, life happened, my husband happened. So there was definitely a break in everything, in fitness. But I was very active all through my pregnancies. I was, as soon as I was done, I was right back to my very regimented schedule of working out.
Okay.
It's kind of something that just gets me through the day. I need it. But it makes me a better person. It makes me a better mom. It makes me now a better business owner, just having it done and knowing that I feel good about what I've accomplished for myself. It's something that is just for me. It's not for anybody else.
Love that.
And then,
you prioritize that.
Yeah,
it's important.
It's incredibly important. And thank God my husband agrees that it's very important for me to do it. I'm a little less chaotic. Started working at, another gym, I guess, probably about 2 years ago. Had a great experience there. An opportunity presented itself to potentially open my own space, and a lot of back and forth, but I, jumped all in and went for it. And now we've been in business about 7 months. It's been fantastic. The environment is everything that I've ever wanted to be a part of. And it's just I have it written on the wall in the gym really big. It's community. And that is everything that, I just want people to come into the space and feel like they're home, so to speak. It's an hour away from, every day, whatever is going on in your life, things that are happening to you. And I just want them to feel like this is a space that they're getting a workout in, but they're, just enjoying it. And that's what I am happy that I've been able to create. And I'm, every day we're building, and I have a fantastic group of coaches that I've known for a long time and have been super supportive. So awesome. I really can't.
Yeah, you created an awesome team.
Yeah.
Like your vibe is across the whole gym.
Yeah.
I mean, Amy is your biggest supporter. So obviously you're doing something amazing to where it's like, I mean, I would say even last year when I met Amy, did you guys meet right when you opened this, or have you known each other?
No. So when I was working at a previous gym is when I met Amy.
Yeah. So, and that was like her release as well.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool though that you're creating this environment, and the biggest thing you want is community. And that's what when we first talked, like I thought that was neat that you didn't want to just be a gym, and you jumping on to partner with All In and offer the scholarship money for a female athlete was so amazing to me, because you didn't have to get into this space if you didn't want to. And you being a former athlete and knowing what athletics has done for you is phenomenal, that you're now going to just pay it forward, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And athletes need to hear this story about you. I mean, I like to say mental fitness, but your mental fitness is your physical fitness. And that's what keeps you going. I mean, you're a mom of a 3 and a 5-year-old. You have your own business. You have a job during the day as well, and you don't look tired. There's a secret sauce here for Sarah. I say it.
I don't know what it is.
It's prioritization. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's really cool. So I want to talk a little bit more about sailing.
Yeah.
So you were saying before, which you have to repeat, like it's not like, what were the seasons like compared to a regular like Division I program? And then talk to me about what your workouts were like, and then I know it sounds corny, but I want to talk about how you weathered the storm. Like, what did that look like on your hardest days?
Yeah. So I want to say in college, I struggled mentally a lot with just giving myself credit. It was, I am my own worst critic. I am incredibly hard on myself all the time. And college really, I look back on it now. My mom always told me that I was like the hardest person on myself. And so I think when it comes to weathering the storm, that was something that I had to mentally.
How did you get through that?
Over.
Did you have somebody that you could talk to? Was it your workouts?
I think it was just being out on the water and just doing it. And just, I was really lucky. I ended up having a really good crew. Alex, who she then was my roommate. And I think just I constantly having her there and constantly supporting me was huge. I look back on it now, and there's so many things that, you can look back in your life and you're like, I wish I would have been less, put less pressure on myself, because I would have had a different experience. Obviously the experience made me who I am now.
Yes.
But things you look back on.
Yeah.
And the biggest difference, I think, with, being a competitive sailor and a lot of other sports is, so college sailing is a fall and a spring season. You don't have like just one season. And then the winter is very short. It usually goes November through like the end of January. That's like your winter season. And that's technically kind of our off season. But as soon as the weather starts to get a little bit nicer, the season starts right back up. Our practices were every day from 4 to 6, 7, depending on, how much light we would have.
And you were on the water every day?
Every day.
Wow.
Every day.
No matter how cold it was?
Nope. No matter how cold it was. They make a dry suit, which similar to like, you see surfers wearing like wetsuits. These, obviously repel the water. So if you do fall in, you're still freezing, but you're not wet. But yeah, and then on the weekends, so instead of like a soccer game is however many hours, and it's, maybe you have 2 a week or whatever the case. So our they're called regattas, were on the weekends. So we would leave, depending on where it was, we would normally leave on Friday night, stay over, you'd wake up the next day, and you would start sailing at 8 a.m. and you sailed till 5, 6, depending on the weather. If it was great conditions, they would keep us out there until it got dark. Then again, on Sunday, we'd get up, then, race all day. Usually we were done a little bit earlier, and then we'd get back to school. But you're doing your homework on the weekends, you're trying to get all your classwork done. So that's what, for 4 years, that's what it looked like.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, and I look back on it and I didn't really see it as a challenge, because growing up sailing, we even sailed all, I remember, and this is why I hate the cold. I absolutely hate snow. I like warm weather, because I remember one day it was snowing and we were sailing. We were sailing. It did not matter that it was snowing. My coach, God bless him, I just and I hate the cold because of it. I remember that day like it was yesterday, and I think I was like 13. But
do you ever sail now?
So not as much. Right after college, I did sail in the summers, but it's again, it's a long commitment. The races again start at 8 o'clock and they go all day. And unfortunately, my time is incredibly limited with everything I have going on.
Sure.
So I don't get to do it as much. I was able to get my son into program this year, even though he's 5.
Yeah.
He's a little young, but he was able to do the program.
Oh, cool.
So he did 2 weeks. I'm hoping he can do 4 weeks, but it's really kind of a life-changing thing. It's given me so much, opportunity. And, I hope I can give that to both of my kids.
I mean, I feel like something really cool has to be being on the water, competing. Like there's just something like really like tranquil but aggressive about it. Like it's just sounds really like awesome.
And I think people think of sailing and they're like, oh, look at that sailboat where people are just like day drinking and it's like a party. And it is a very competitive, you have to be in great shape. You have to be, there's days that it's, super windy and you have to be prepared for that.
Wow.
So our training schedule was, we were getting up at 5 o'clock, 5:30 to be in the gym. We had hour training sessions.
What did the trainings look like? Were they running? Were they more like a...
It was kind of a mix. It was kind of like some people, I would do more running stuff. A lot of people would do rowing stuff.
Okay.
Weights.
Yeah.
Mixed training.
Okay.
It was kind of whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it was still part of, hey, you don't show up to training, well, somebody's taking your spot this weekend sailing, and you're like, oh, I don't want that.
No, I'm there.
I guess I'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you're on the boat, that's a long time. Like you have to feed your body. I mean, so nutrition, I'm sure, was another big part of your life.
Yeah.
Always. Dehydration, I'm sure. Yeah. You
Yep.
had to be hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. It's different. It's
it's
definitely different.
Yeah. What's the difference between like your mindset in sailing and then like, did you compete at all for CrossFit?
So I did a little bit small stuff, but
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing mentally is sailing is a team sport.
Okay.
You have an A division and a B division.
Okay.
So if I finish first in a race and then B goes out and they're third, then we're combined. We have 4 points.
Okay.
So it comes down to these point systems. So for that, it was more of a team thing. So I think that's also why I put a lot more stress on myself.
Yeah.
Like we gotta do good. Like we're a team. Whereas CrossFit is more of an individual thing.
Okay.
So I didn't.
Yeah.
I still put a lot of pressure on myself, and I don't even know why.
Yeah.
But I really don't.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that team aspect. So if I made a mistake, it was all on me.
Yeah.
It wasn't on like, oh, I just let our entire team down.
How many people were on the sailing team?
Oh God. We probably had 30 kids, I would say.
So like in a single regatta, how many sail?
Okay, so
am I saying this?
Yeah, you're saying it 100% right. But on any given weekend, we had 4 or 5 regattas all over the place.
Oh, okay.
So there would be a women's regatta here.
Okay.
There would be this regatta here, here. So we would have kids all over the place.
Oh, okay. So if you went out, like how many people in your specific race would be like on team Roger Marshall for that day?
So we had 4. You
have
an A division and a B division.
Okay.
You usually bring an extra skipper and an extra crew.
Okay.
Just in case somebody gets hurt or they have like heavy crews and lighter crews. So if it's super windy, you usually will switch somebody out.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more weight in the boat. We had a couple lighter crews, which were literally like people we would find in the cafeteria that were like, oh, you're 100 pounds, like come join the sailing team, like and you would kind of teach them. But
was the team environment, did you have like great teammates, like did you have like good connections and culture? It's cool. I feel like sailors would be really like that.
I mean, every team has drama.
Yeah.
They all do.
Yeah.
But I still talk to a handful of my teammates.
That's great.
One of my other college roommates, she's out in California. And we've still, like, she just sent me something on Instagram earlier. Just like, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm asking is because you want to take so much into your gym, and that comes from somewhere. So I always say, like, athletics opens your mind up and gives you the will to want to have a community always around you.
Absolutely.
I think like the team is like, you never want to lose that team, whatever it is. Like, no matter what it is, whether it's your family, whether it's the people you work with, the team is the most important thing, the community. So
absolutely.
that's like when athletes are in it and they're like, oh, this is so annoying and these teammates are this or that. It's like, remember that you're going to want this team for the rest of your life and you want to create the right one.
So
absolutely. That's like another thing that I'd love to like talk to you more about, like just the all-in athlete thing is like this, just this culture of like getting these kids to understand it's for the rest of their lives, that they're going to learn that working together is huge, because like now you're the boss of these coaches underneath you. What's your style? What's your leadership style? Do you have one? Of course you do. I model by example, I'm going to guess. 100%.
I would say. But, I don't want to feel, and I feel like I made that very clear. They might not agree. But, when I opened the gym, the first thing I did, I was like, all right, we're doing photos for the website. And then we're all going out like to dinner, like as a team, as a like, because not everybody knew each other, but it's just people that I had always known. So I wanted to bring everybody together. And one of my biggest things was like, yes, I own this, but like if you have an idea, if there's something you don't like, or I'm like, I want you to know that like you can come to me and be like, hey, look, I want to add this program, or I want to do this, or I think this would be really good. Like, cool. Phenomenal. How can we do that? How can we build it? And even when I'm like asking everybody's schedule every week, I'm like, hey guys, like I'm thinking I have a couple ideas. Does anybody else have anything? Like anything you want to see, anything we can do.
That's awesome.
So I never want to feel like I am the boss, because I just want I mean, I have to do the boss thing sometimes.
Yeah.
But for the most, I want us to be a community of coaches that are coming together, putting our heads together and making, especially like when it comes to the programming that we're putting out there, I want it to be the best it can be. And, you know, my brain is only so big, and having everybody else's input is huge.
Well, they're going to want to come back to Night Fitness every day and work their ass off. I'm just gonna say it. The ass.
Yeah.
And because you are giving them that room to have input. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Like you see people that never get the input
Yeah.
and they just, you know, push down. And I think nowadays that kind of leadership style, and whether you don't even have to act as the boss, just the fact that everybody feels a part of it is huge, because there's, and also they're going to mesh with different clients differently than you will. So it's like, oh, let's try this because this group seems to be motivated this way. Yeah. Because you think that only happens like with kids, but adults, it's the same thing, you know, because they're coming in there with the wanting to improve. They're coming in there with their own issues, you know, like, so that's really cool. Yeah. Awesome. Have you seen some awesome transformations? Yeah. 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 Do you want to talk about any of them?
I'll talk about one recently because she's like, she just, when I was working at the other gym, she started coming there, and she's always been super shy, and I'm just gonna say her name, Kelly. And she's just been, and I'm been now doing her nutrition and working with her, and I'm calling her Kelly 2.0 now, because I'm like, not only has she physically just made these incredible changes, and she now sees how incredible they are, but her personality, she's come out of her shell. She's one of the funniest people I know, and I'm like, Kel, like, I didn't even know you were like this. So cool. And just watching her go from this shy, quiet, never really in a gym, not really her scene, to like religious 5 days a week, like posting her food pics and like open to suggestions. And I just made her do her photos, and she goes, oh my God, who is that person? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, and you know, but just finding that balance for her was the biggest thing. And I'm just watch, and that's what I love about what I do, is just watching people find that confidence in themselves that they've never had before. And with her, it's been incredible. Yeah. It's been such,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just going to keep happening. Yeah. Yeah. Because she's going to, I mean, that's the biggest part. You don't see the fact that like you're committing to a habit every single day. She's changing everything. Now she's a completely different person. Like you think it's just like, oh, I want to lose weight. Yeah. It's so much more than that. I mean, you see it probably so much more than me. I mean, I know from my own personal, but it's so much more than that. It is. Yeah. It is. And when you can get people past that it's not just about losing weight, like that is like 5% of what it is. And when they get past that, and that's when the magic happens. I like to say, like, that's when cool. Their lives really start to change. Yeah. It's really cool. And that's what I want athletes to realize about their training, is it isn't just about so you can compete in that game. It isn't so you can score goals. It's not just that. You want to take your body and make it the best it possibly can be, so that you are more confident. You can handle stress. And that's a big message. I'm going to use you with that too. Like that's, I just want them to see that, because then I feel like their perspective will be different. Like instead of the ohs and the ahs of standing on the line and sprinting, it's like, all right, let's go. Like I'm going to challenge myself. And when I can do this, then I'm mentally tougher, you know? And I was just listening to a podcast today, and it was like, in the world right now, it's like, it's okay to not be okay. And then it's, you're perfect just the way you are. And absolutely everybody is perfect just the way they are. And there's that fine line of being like, but if you can be this way, it's not taking away that you're perfect. It's that you're now here and you're thriving, And so it's like, what is the messaging, the right messaging for these young girls, athletes all over? I'm just trying. I'm obsessed with trying to like figure it out, because my attitude and my energy is so aggressive to be like, let's go. Like you have to be mentally tougher. But I also have that side of me that like, it's okay. You can do this kind of thing. So and you have 2 young kids. So it's like, let's go. Yeah. All the time. Yeah. And they're crying. You're not crying. Exactly. And then you remember the stories of like, my mom made me
Exactly.
go on the water.
Yeah. You see?
Yeah.
That's going to be me. And I'll be like, oh, well, it's snowing. Go sailing. And I'll be like, oh my God, I just traumatized him for life.
But is it traumatizing if that's what made you who you are? Like you just talked about your coach, right?
Not at
like
all.
It's your perspective if it was traumatizing.
Yeah.
Like if it made you better.
And it did.
And it built your personality, your work ethic, your will, your resilience, your grit, then you got through it.
Yeah.
Like I had one of the hardest coaches in the shore conference and it wasn't easy, but I go back and I'm like, and people want to know, and it was torture, but I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think I'd do it again.
Yeah.
I think I would. I mean,
and those are the coaches that leave that lasting impression are the ones that challenge you and push you and in ways that you never thought possible.
Mm-hmm. So when you're challenging, how do you deal with a client that isn't so motivated?
Oh,
are you a big complimenter? Or are you a big no? You walk a good line.
I think I walk a good line.
Yeah.
You know, I try to keep every class very light and kind of and fun, but still very structured and organized. But you know, I feel like I don't know, when people just come into the space, they kind of are instantly motivated, and I don't want to say like that by bragging by any means, but like it's just you know the people that have been who have known me forever and who have stuck with me through you know the couple different places I've been, they also have really taken like so to speak a leadership role. They motivate other people. There's everybody's you know cheering each other on, and everybody's helping everybody finish the workout, and you know it I think that's
it's just what you've created.
That's
okay to say that.
I know. It's
don't
hard
be
to
so
say.
hard on yourself.
See?
Yeah, you gotta go at that. I mean, that's special.
Yeah,
that's really special. That's not like that in all places.
No,
which is really cool. Yeah. Have you been to gyms where you kind of felt like you didn't belong?
Oh yeah,
yeah. There's been some bad experiences. Yeah,
and I don't want to say I don't want to say bad.
Yeah.
Growing experiences.
Awesome.
And you know now that I have my own space, I've learned so much from each you know other place that I worked, good and bad, like things that I'm like this is working so well, like back of my mind for you know when this all happened, you know, and things that I am like I wouldn't have done it that way, but you know, but also had I not been in that situation, I wouldn't have had that experience, so I wouldn't have known that hey, that's not the way I would do it.
That's awesome perspective. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how do you measure success?
I would definitely measure success with the people that you surround yourself with. I haven't really talked about my husband, but I could not do anything in life without him. He is just.
You're gonna make. I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna little. He's just. He's just an all around good
really
guy.
Cool.
But in you know just in everything that I've done, whether it was, you know, I had to train for the Berlin Marathon a couple years ago.
You didn't just skip over the Berlin Marathon.
I know. I do marathons sometimes too. I'm doing Boston in April.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh,
so running Berlin, I qualified for Boston, but my husband is he is the greatest part of me. And without him, I don't feel like any of this is possible. And I think without having that support, you know, it's just not. So the people you surround yourself with, my parents, they are just phenomenal people. They're both insanely hardworking, and they offered me a lot of, you know, opportunity and a lot of possibilities. And they still to this day, you know, especially with the space, they offered me that possibility to make my dreams come true. And the people you surround yourself with are going to, you know, help you succeed in anything you do. Amy, you know, connecting me with you, that's so you know, a huge piece to you know, another puzzle that I never knew existed. And every person you meet can, you get to offer them something, but they can also offer you, something else. So the people you surround yourself is what makes you successful.
Oh,
And,
so cool.
yeah.
You made me cry. It hasn't happened yet.
I'm sorry, my husband. He's just.
That's cool.
I can't. I
Well,
can't
it's
say
nice
enough
to hear
good
that.
things about
Yeah,
him.
it's
And,
nice to hear that, and that's like where it starts.
Yeah.
Is family.
Yeah.
100%.
And he's a great dad, and he knows that like training is incredibly important. Especially now as I'm training for Boston, and he makes it a priority that I get my workouts in, and I make sure that I'm on schedule with things. He does my water bottles he makes sure that they're the way that they're supposed to be. I don't even like know what's in them really, but he knows what I need. Like he's my go-to for supplements. Like he knows what I need. He knows how to fuel me correctly. Cool. So it's a team effort. It really is.
That's cool.
And I think that's why I am where I am.
So
right
Boston Marathon. So you're a runner.
Yeah.
Yes. That's cool.
So I didn't really know I was a runner. I mean, I ran in high school. Like I ran cross country.
Obviously Berlin Marathon wasn't your first marathon.
It was not. So I ran New York.
Okay.
And I ran Chicago.
Okay.
So there's 6 world major marathons.
Okay.
So if you complete all 6 of them, you get like this medal at the end. It's just kind of like.
Are you going for it?
I am going for it. So Boston will be my 4th of the 6. And Boston is the hardest to get into because you have to qualify or you have to do through charity. And the charity bids are a very large, substantial amount. And there are very few. So I was able to, and that was the goal for Berlin, was to try to qualify. So I had this was, of course, this year, they had the most applicants into the Boston Marathon. And it was the highest amount of like qualifying time. So they based on your age, and you have like a certain qualifying time you have to meet. And then this year you had to meet that qualifying time plus like 3 additional minutes.
Wow.
So it was like kind of insane. But so we'll do that in April, which is really cool. And my kids are coming, which is awesome.
What's the date in April?
April 15th.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then my birthday is the 16th. So
mine's
it's
the 19th.
Pretty good.
There we go.
That's why we connect so well.
That's it. We're both Aries. That's so cool. I can't believe you like to run so much.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and again, I just kind of, I think maybe it was after my first son, I was like, let me just start running again. Like, I don't know what I want to do. And I just kind of fell in love with it.
Cool.
And, it's funny because people are like, well, what type of music?
I was just going to ask you, what's the music?
None.
None. Repeat that?
No.
None. You're just quiet. Holy smokes. I go crazy in my head. Really?
Love. It's like my time.
Yeah.
It's just me and I don't have to think about anything else.
Yeah.
I just run and I do think about like everything that I have going on, but it's just like, no.
Okay.
I also don't like carrying a bunch of crap with me. Okay. I just like to be out and running.
Yeah. That's so funny.
So
nothing.
Yeah.
So no headphones, nothing. You just go. That's cool. Yeah. At least you don't have to get prepared. One less thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that would get me out to run. I'm like, where are my headphones? I need this. Yeah. That's cool.
I don't run with my phone, nothing. It's just me, my watch, and
So like when you're training for a marathon, my friends were just did the one in Colorado, and they were training. Is it like you don't actually go out and do a marathon when you're training? You just, it's all different. Like
so it's a structured plan.
Okay.
And I kind of developed my own plan based just on things that I've learned, adding in a lot of strength training, which I think runners need to do a lot more.
I was just going to ask you, do you add in that?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm working on putting a program together for 6 weeks, a runner's strength program
really cool.
before people start to get into their, their spring marathons and half marathons. But you never do.
Yeah.
You do like one really long run a week. You do some speed work, recovery runs.
Yeah.
Some are timed, some are distance. And it just varies. You kind of build up, and then about a month before is like your longest run, and then you just kind of taper after that.
Okay.
But it's
so New York, Chicago, Berlin, Boston, and then you have 2 more to get like. So what would be the next one?
London.
Yeah. And then where?
Tokyo.
And then Tokyo. Is there any in the United States?
So New York, Chicago, and Boston are the 3 U.S.
Okay.
ones, and then there's 3
I didn't know that.
international ones. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, so
okay. So you got to go.
So I got to go, and now they're talking about making a 7th world major in Sydney. Has been like on the for 5 years trying to get in as the 7th world major, and I'm like, oh Jesus, we're gonna have to go to Australia.
You're going to Australia.
It's it kind of adds cool. to I got to see all these things through sailing, and now I'm seeing all these things through running. So
your children are seeing,
and my children are seeing all these things,
and that is going to change their lives.
Yeah,
100%. It's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Just modeling that for kids is so cool. Yeah. So, what advice would you give? I know you spoke already. If you were to tell your younger self something, it would be not to be so hard on yourself. So I'm sure that's the advice you would give a younger athlete, is to not be so hard on yourself.
Just to live in the moment of what you're doing as an athlete. You're challenging your body, and you're putting your body through some pretty insane, workouts and routines and habits. And just be proud of all you're doing, because I think as females especially, we're incredibly hard on ourselves. The scale can be a really terrible place to be, and I think that's something I really try to focus and tell all of my clients, female or male for that matter, is just enjoy the process and just enjoy what you're doing, because it doesn't last forever. It doesn't. And you're only a college athlete, high school athlete, for so long. And then,
and then you take what you learn, you make connections.
You make connections and you
keep
build.
going. Yeah, that's it. I mean, and the connections you're going to make through the marathon and everything like that just proves that. That brings me into the whole business aspect. What was different about building a business for you as from being an athlete? What's similar to your mindset of building a business and being an athlete and being a runner and everything?
Ooh, I wasn't ready for that question.
I know. I'm excited to hear what you have to say, because it's really cool. It's
I feel like it's kind of one in the same almost. You still have to be structured. I have to be structured in making sure that the schedule is set all the time, just as if I have to get my runs in. I need to know that I have coaches covering classes if there's a coach out, and I need to make sure that programming is done. I'm crazy OCD, we are programmed almost into April. I'm just making sure that programming is done. But things that I learned as an athlete, and having those habits and making sure we're staying on top of things. I don't know if this really goes with, but I guess it kind of does. My gym is incredibly clean. I do not like it when it's dirty. I do not. I never liked working out. All in high school, college. The gyms were really nice and really clean, and that has, as an athlete, is something I really liked, and that's something that I've been in gyms that were not very well maintained, and I'm this is not for me. But just as an athlete and a business owner, it's it really does go hand in hand, because everything you learned in your character continues on in your business. People aren't, if you're if you were kind of a people aren't going to want to come back. So it's something you got to keep the
growing. Space about organization is huge. I think it's another skill, mental fitness skill, that if your space is organized, you don't have to be the most organized person in the world, but if you are organized, you're less prone to stress. If you're a procrastinator, that's fine. You can thrive as a procrastinator, but I think it's important for you to have a little bit of a plan, and then that kind of eliminates those feelings. So I have found definitely that if I am a little bit more organized, I have 3 dogs, so when my car is a disaster, I get in it in the start of my day, and I'm I can't do this anymore. I can't start my day with all my dog toys and hair and everything all over the place. I need a plan. And that actually changed for me. Stepping into my clean car that I'm in all day traveling, I'm this is great. So I can understand that. I am not a clean person.
It's your space.
But I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm trying. My husband, to give him credit, is the best. He cleans, he cooks, He does all the laundry. He does all the. I'm not allowed in the dishwasher. 'Cause I fill it like a raccoon. He says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of me too.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know
it's.
why.
But I can respect that. So what would you like? I'm building a business too, and
Yeah.
I would say like entrepreneur wise, like what's kind of like what's the best advice you
Don't
would give?
stop.
Don't stop.
Just
Mhm.
even when you are like questioning yourself,
Mhm.
even when you're unsure if you're making the right moves, if you're doing the right things, just keep doing
Mhm.
what you're doing,
Yeah.
and it will slowly. And it's slow.
Yeah.
It will slowly build itself, and
Yeah.
you'll just, a couple years from now, you look back and be like, wow,
Yeah.
like this is how I started, and this
Yeah.
is where I am. But don't stop, and don't count yourself out. Give yourself credit for what you're doing and what you're building, because it's super unique and it's
Yeah.
different, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you. It's
It is me.
It's you.
Yeah.
And
I-
nobody can take that away from you.
No. And I think one of the biggest things is like, really when you look back and you say where you started, and then I'm like, even sitting here with you, like a year ago, Amy and those guys asked me to speak at the women event, and I was like so raw and like new and didn't really know. I just went with my personality and connection and was like, let's go. And now it's like a year later, and it's crazy. Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely cool. But this is what you need. You need to have other people that are in the same boat as you.
Absolutely.
Boat.
Great pun.
Great pun. And just like-minded, positive, ready to roll, because we need each other.
Yeah.
Because it isn't always easy.
No, it's definitely not.
Definitely not. It's definitely not. Some days I'm like, all right, Wawa, here I come. I'll just give out all-in stickers there.
Yeah. For whatever works.
Exactly. All right. So my last question is just to, I ask everybody to just define resilience.
I think resilience is just overcoming,
Okay.
Overcoming any obstacle.
Mhm.
And it can be small, it can be big, it can be, life-changing, it's just overcoming everything that's thrown at you.
Awesome. Well, this was fun. You made
This
me
was
cry.
fun.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I learned more about you. You also run marathons.
Yeah.
I'm excited for what we're going to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am too.
Awesome. Go to Night Fitness in
Thanks.
Toms River. All right, Charles. We're done.